Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, this is Down the Rabbit Hole with James and Andrea, and thank you for listening to our interview with Joe Puglia, who's running for Sheriff of Hernando County. We hope you enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, this is special edition interview series continuing with Mr. Joe Puglia, who is a candidate for Hernando County Sheriff.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Joe. So Andrea got to work the polls today,
Yeah.
and she got to be there firsthand, seeing how many early voters and mail-in ballots were coming.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
saw quite a few. There was a lot of them that were brought in, dropped off.
And I know you can't give all of the details because you're a private worker, but would you say that the turnout's looking good?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
early
I
voting?
think for early voting, I think a lot of people turned out. And I'm pretty excited to see how many people show up on the 20th.
Mhm.
So tomorrow is the last day to vote early in Hernando County
Yep.
from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Forest Oaks location, correct?
Yes. I think there's a few others that are open. I'm just not quite sure what locations those are.
Well, go to the Forest Oaks location because you know that one's going straight to the head. So, Joe, welcome, man. This has
Thank
been
you.
an awesome road.
Thank
for
you very much.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
So honored to have you. So, listen, this is going to be different than the Hernando County residents have experienced because you're going to be able to let loose a little bit. We don't have a big crowd. We're not holding your feet to the fire here, but we want to be, we want to keep it real. Pretty much, that's what our
Yeah.
show is all about: is keeping it real. So, why
Very
don't
good.
you tell us what initially got you interested in running for this position?
Well, I have not made this a cornerstone of my campaign or even the foundation of my campaign, but my son was a deputy there, and I think you guys are familiar with what he ran into. And I will say that once we started diving in and looking at it, my wife and I, we were shocked at what we saw. And being in law enforcement, being an airline pilot, training pilots, um, I was amazed to see the lack of detail in record keeping and actually creating records, looking back in time over the course of 6 months. And in a nutshell, what that does is it creates an open door for the agency to be held responsible in litigation. And we didn't think that that was very professional. And that's what got us interested in me running.
I would I would say that would do it.
Oh yeah.
And listen, Joe, I told you we're going to keep it real for the
Mhm.
people watching. We're not going to give all of the details, but as Joe said, his son was a deputy. There was some foul play. He was penalized for it, and in the words of the citizens, it's BS,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, that's,
it's BS. And that story, amongst the other numerous anecdotal stories all of us Hernando County residents have with improprieties of the sheriff's department, is what brought us here today too.
Yeah,
mhm.
I would agree.
You know, we as citizens and business operators have seen things in this county over the past few years that have brought into question the
Absolutely.
integrity and, as you said, the record keeping and accountability. And I'd like to share a story with you and the viewers as well. We had a robbery on our property of our lawn company. They were on the property doing the lawn, mowing and trimming and hedging.
Right.
We like to keep our place looking nice. And their big backpack blower was stolen. The
Mhm.
guy took the blower, ran over to Dollar General, and tried to escape with the blower. Well, his car conked out while he was trying to escape. So, while this is happening, Andrea calls the officers. They're en route. The owner of the lawn company, who is a local business owner as well, who
Mhm.
actually helped clean up that whole corner of MLK and 41. Um, he was in the process of getting the equipment back from the guy who stole it from him when the cops arrived.
Mhm.
And when the cops arrived, they immediately went to the guy that stole the blower first. They didn't stop to the business operator who called. They didn't stop to the business owner of the lawnmower. They went
Yeah.
straight to the perpetrator.
Well, I'll
Mhm.
I'll tell you, I was there. I saw the
Yeah.
whole thing transpire right in front of me.
Mhm.
On property, we have cameras all over. And I called, the deputies came out, and one of them is known. I've known him since he started working for the sheriff's department. And he walks over, they talk to the guy who took the item, comes over, and normally my interactions with the sheriff's department is they come over and they ask you what happened.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we've
That
called the cops a few times on
Oh yeah,
people
I'm
at
not
our
afraid to. The
business.
sheriffs are there to assist the community, and as a business owner, I'm not afraid to call the police when I need them to come.
Right.
Um, they probably get aggravated with me because I've probably called them a number of times for just different things that's happened.
Mhm.
But normally my interactions are they ask what happened. This interaction, he walked over and just basically told me what the guy who was taking the item said
The
happened.
guy said that he found the backpack and he was going to bring it back to the owner.
Yeah,
Mhm.
He
yeah,
was going to bring it back to the owner.
and
course.
so he basically told us what the guy said he was going to do, and just left it at that. And I said, hold on a minute. Are you going to ask us what happened? Are you
Mhm.
even going to, are you going to even go to that point? I said, I have cameras
Would
that,
you like to watch the cameras we
you know, I
offered?
said, I don't have no problem walking in and letting you see these cameras, watching and seeing what happened. And he's like, oh no. And the lawn company who was there, he was like, you know, he already felt like that nothing was going to be done. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh no, let the officers do their job. They're pretty good about it. You know, they'll come over here. They're going to ask us what happened. And, you know, they're going to get our side. They're going to get his side and then get a police report going. And we didn't even have to have him arrested. Even the
Mhm.
trespassing would have
Well,
been suffice.
we requested him be trespassed
Yes.
off the property.
Yes.
We did
Right.
request it, and it was not fulfilled.
And the only
Mhm.
reason why I know it wasn't fulfilled was because normally the deputy would give me a card with a
With the report number,
report
Case
number
number.
on it saying that
Mhm.
something, you know, transpired at the property. And I didn't get anything. He just left. The guy left, and he didn't. I said, I'm just I let him know. I let him know because I'm a person that I'm going to tell you if I don't agree with you and I think you're wrong, I'm going to tell
Mhm.
you. And I
Yeah.
said, you know, just the way you're handling this whole situation, I think is really unprofessional. I said, and if you ask me, in my personal opinion, I just think you don't want to do the paperwork. I
Mhm.
said, you don't want to, it's already the end of your shift. It was later in the afternoon. And I was like, I'm sure you're about to clock out and you just don't want to go back to the office and finish the paperwork. I said, and that's just my honest opinion. And I guess this is it. We're done.
So Joe,
Yeah.
when stuff like this happens, and what confidence can the citizens have? What type of operational and maybe training are you going to bring as, you know, the new sheriff?
Well, when you have an institution that is this short on manpower, they are reactive only. They're not proactive policing. So if you take this deputy for a moment, who knows what his day entailed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
My apologies, you there?
okay.
How
It's okay.
many calls for service he has been on how many calls he's holding. I have a pretty confident position in that they're short. And when you're short, that's what this creates is, okay, I have to respond to the next call. So this isn't that major of a case. Let me poop can it and move on to the next one, which is more demanding. So my plan is to restore the manpower and the morale to this agency so they can give you the service that you deserve. Um,
See,
that
and
has
I,
to be done.
sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, see, as a just a civilian, I didn't even take that into account. You know, I didn't even cross my mind
Right.
all the things that he's dealt with that entire day. You know,
Mhm.
especially in, you know, I'm in a hustle and bustle workplace, and sometimes I become absent minded as to what is happening around me too.
Like
So,
the interview.
so
We joke, we joke.
so that's, you know, now that you said that, I will now take that into account when I interact with an officer.
I think everybody
Yeah,
should. We're all
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
We're all overworked and underpaid.
yeah, no doubt. But they, the sheriff says they don't have a morale issue. I happen to see a memo that was between the union and its membership in which the chief deputy openly said that he wants to address the morale issues when he was elevated to that position. But, when you're running around from one call to another and you feel unappreciated, and you feel that you could be jammed up for any little thing, that's a tough environment to work in. So I want to do things for them that would restore their faith in management. Little things that you could do. Number one, change the uniform because they're sitting in a car for 12 hours a day, getting in and out in 95-degree weather. They need to be comfortable.
What kind of changes would that be?
It would be what we were wearing in Newport Richie, a BDU uniform, which is it breathes a lot better. Um, it's almost like being in a pair of pajamas for the 12 hours that you're there, quite frankly.
Okay.
Right.
It's very comfortable. It has an outer vest, so if you want to, release that vest a little bit and take that tension off your chest, you can. Um, the other thing we can do is tattoos, as long as they're not offensive. Uh, they express an interest in wearing beards. Most of the agencies have gone that way now. I am for them, as long as they are cropped and presentable. Look, we're all adults here.
So
Manage yourself, and it will give you the
there's a lot of
freedoms.
rules that go along with that. I didn't even know. Like,
Yeah.
I
Take
didn't
home
even.
vehicles into other counties. There is some restriction in how far they can go with their take home vehicles. I'm looking to, and I will loosen up those restrictions for them. So there's a lot that you could do immediately that brings the morale up. And I'm getting phone calls and text messages and emails on law enforcement officers who were here in the past that want to come back. And we need those people. We need good people that are trained. And I
Yeah.
told them that I'm all ears in taking them back to this agency.
Well, you mentioned something earlier, Joe. You said you want to make the job easier for them. You said you don't want the guys getting jammed up. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, one of the things that I see, and you knew this question was coming, the the crux of every citizen's biggest issue with the current sheriff is this body cam
Yeah.
Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
And I remember when we had that shootout where we were relying on Pasco County's officers and their cameras to tell us what was going on in our county,
Yeah.
and it was like the
Right.
first time we'd ever even seen that type of
Mhm.
interaction. So we know that you are for them, but what I would like you to, maybe let's take a psychological introspection here. What reason could any law enforcement officer have for not wanting body cams on their officers?
Well, um, I don't suspect that is an issue with the actual deputy. I think it is more of the management team. And when you have a lack of training, a lack of accountability, or you're so much a politician that you're that concerned with what dirty laundry would be aired out, you're not going to want them. I'm not a politician. I think if I do a good job, the citizens are going to reelect you. But I've been saying this from day one. Law enforcement is a partnership between the community you serve and the institution. It's not my sheriff's office, it's ours.
Mhm.
And the sheriff has the privilege of serving in that capacity to execute those duties that he's constitutionally charged with. Um, so you have to have transparency. Now, if it's an active investigation, of course, we're not going to release that stuff until it's appropriate to release it. But I think I'm 180 degrees out in what Al's point of view is on that. I believe in transparency. We had body cameras in Newport Richie. They were fine. I don't buy the underwear argument that if you're in your underwear and you're having a
Yeah,
dispute,
that was
it's
fake.
going to get
Hold
aired
on.
out.
Hold on. We got for the viewers and people watching. If you haven't seen this video, they asked Joe and Al why, about body cams, and the sheriff said, "Well, what if we have a call for domestic violence and there's two people in their underwear and the video goes to the cloud and the cloud gets hacked?" So I'm thinking to myself, wait, first off, that's never the argument from any officer I've ever heard
Right.
ever. And then second, we had a huge data leak in Hernando County that they all tried to cover up.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's like you got a lot of freaking nerve to think that we're so stupid that a people wearing underwear in a domestic violence is the reason why
Yeah.
we should not have body cams. Is that's the best answer this man had to give us citizens? Guys, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how else to convince you
Yeah.
that we need regime change.
Yeah. And it's accountability. Look, my plan is, I will give him credit for this. He started his own academy. That's a good thing.
Yep.
It's over at Nature Coast. I intend to make that better. And I intend to train those deputies that we hire to use those body cameras from day one in their training, where it
Right.
becomes second nature. And then you're not afraid to have it.
Well,
I'm not interested in disciplining somebody because they used foul language in the heat of a moment. Police work at times can be ugly. It can be ugly to watch.
Yeah.
But I'm confident in the men and women in that agency that 99% of them come to work to do the right thing. I'm for those cameras. They're gonna happen. And those of them that don't want it, I think they'll come along pretty quickly because here's the thing. Just like it will keep the deputies honest and operating in accordance with policy
Right.
and bring transparency to you. It'll also mitigate the fruitless complaints against those deputies because it's going to be on
Absolutely.
record. And in the state of Florida, it is a crime to falsely report an allegation against, a false police report. And if you're doing that to our deputies, I will hold you accountable, just like I will hold them accountable.
That's a great piece of
That's
information.
fair. Yeah.
That is a great piece of
Mhm.
information. I think all the voters haven't heard before.
Yeah, I mean,
And
if you have a legitimate
even more
complaint, bring it.
confident.
Well, we're in a society now where cameras are everywhere. Us as business owners, we live with cameras around us all the time.
Mhm.
Right.
And it's like second nature. It's not a big deal.
When are we worried about any camera? Now, let me ask you a question. Speaking of cameras, what's up with these spy cameras?
flock system.
What's going on
The
with
flock
this,
system.
Joe? And what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on it?
Look, on the surface, on its face, it is a very effective law enforcement tool. There's no doubt.
Sure.
If you have a elderly family member that's missing, that can be very useful because
Right.
you put the information in the system. A deputy nearby will get an alert or a state trooper. Um, so it has its benefits. Um, I am not against them. I am for them. Here's what I don't
Sure.
like. I don't like them coming up overnight in the cover of darkness. I don't think it's fair that you should not know, that you should have no knowledge of it. I
Right.
found it even more disturbing that when constituents started asking their county commissioners, "Hey, what is this thing?" And the county commissioner went to the sheriff, and he basically sent out an email that we don't know what it says. You can only assume that it says, "I put these up, and please don't respond to your constituents," because it is completely redacted, with the exception of who he sent it to and his name at the bottom.
Yeah, I saw. I
Look,
couldn't believe it. It
Yeah.
looked like it
yeah,
was like something out of the CIA
Yeah,
files.
I have one in my
right.
neighborhood right over off First, and I usually do a whole walk around through there to, exercise, and I walk by it and I'm like, "What the heck is this thing?" And I'm looking at it, and I could only assume it was something to monitor the area, which I'm okay with.
Right.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't have anything to hide. So I
Mhm.
think people have to just understand that things like that are there for a purpose. If they're
And when it's
monitoring the
used right,
area when it's used right, I think the big question that a lot of people had is why they're put in areas that are considered high crime areas. I think people
Mhm.
are feeling a little
like
singled
targeted.
out, targeted. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
I don't
So
have it in my neighborhood.
I don't know if you're familiar with Hillendale.
yeah,
Yeah.
they have them in and out.
Hillen, they have two on every street that goes in and out of that community, because I drove there myself to see it. Um, and Hillendale has had its issues in the past, but you can't
Sure.
single people out like that. And they have built some nice homes in that community. So
Yeah.
imagine that you're the person that wants to sell your home, and the buyer pulls in and sees this.
Yep.
You've painted a picture, you've casted a net that, in my opinion, is inappropriate. I mean, what are we telling the rest of the people here, that we're protecting the rest of the county from you?
Good point.
It's just a bad
Yeah,
taste.
I
And I can
agree.
tell you that I will take them down, and I will spread them throughout the county, and we will do what's constitutionally sound.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I
Yeah,
really do.
absolutely.
Because I'm not opposed to any of it.
Sure. I'm all for protection.
Yeah.
Anything, any type of equipment that will help an officer's job be easier, I'm for it. I
Right.
truly am.
Yeah,
But not for a $350 million endowment.
Right.
What are your
no,
thoughts on that, Joe?
no.
Because a lot of people
I,
are wanting to know what's
yeah,
going to happen, and who
I
approves that money, and how. Just let's hear all your thoughts on that. I'm going to sit back.
yeah. Well, that thank God is going to go to the constituents to vote on in the fall. As it relates to the portion of the money, which is, well over 300 million to the sheriff's office, I think it's the wrong time. People are really hurting out there. Um, and there are bigger issues that we need to deal with immediately. Again, restoring boots on the ground. I'm not interested in building a large puzzle palace with 300 parking spots. Maybe as the revenue grows later on and you realistically look at that, I mean, you see what's happening in Pasco County. But at this point in time, I think it's wrong. I mean, we're looking at paying that over the course of 29 years.
Mhm.
I just don't see it. And I don't know 100%, but I'm looking into this because I was told by Sheriff Mylander some time back that when he had the current office built, it was built with the intention of going vertical. So I'm going to look into that, because it was done in the
Remember
mid
that?
to late 90s.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look at that if we really do need the space.
I'm gonna tell you a funny story. Mylander came to Suncoast Elementary School and presented plans for the thing back in
Mhm.
way back in the day, and
Yeah,
and he said, and it's gonna go vertical. So he's absolutely
yeah,
right. He's not lying on that, guys. I have
Right.
that
yeah, yeah,
core memory.
yeah,
Nice. Awesome.
That is that
yeah.
you know let me ask you a question, because I'm glad you brought up Mylander, because I really did like him.
Yeah, I respected him.
Um,
Mhm.
I
I
have
know
respect for the current sheriff too.
we
I'll put
do.
that out there.
We do
Yeah.
respect Niehaus. We just,
I
there's
voted, my family and I, wife and I, we voted for him every time.
we did too.
Well, I will tell
Yeah,
you, there's, with people who run, you got to think of it like he's running a company, basically.
right.
He's a hierarchy of a company. He's running it, and sometimes people become complacent because it's not that he didn't do his job. A lot of things started sliding through the years. Oh, let's
Yeah,
not
we'll
look.
let
We'll
this
turn our
go.
cheek
Yeah,
on this, and it could be a number of things. But people become complacent in their job, and sometimes you need fresh people in there, fresh eyes to see the things that could be going on that maybe is being ignored,
right.
you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. Joe, do you think that now I know the former sheriffs will never give out endorsements and get into that, but we saw something today that I don't think I've ever seen in the
Mhm.
county, and that was officers sign waving for the current sheriff.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to mention names, but I talked to two other sheriffs, and they said
Mhm.
it was very distasteful. So
Yeah.
put it out there for the people to
Yeah.
hear. You
I know that an email was circulated from the FOP. I did not go to the FOP to seek an endorsement because that would be political suicide for them. Um, I think now I'm not talking about the rank and file, I'm talking about the board itself.
sure.
They're in a very bad spot because you work at the pleasure of the sheriff. And this is what I really want to get away from because I've worked under those conditions myself, and sometimes they're not very comfortable, especially if you have somebody that likes to exercise that authority. That being
Mm,
said, I did not seek their endorsement because I just did not want to put them in harm's way. Um, I knew they weren't going to endorse me because it would be suicide. So I put it out there early that I'm not seeking the endorsement. I know that an email was circulated to the members to assist in waving signs and off duty. That certainly is their prerogative. I think it's distasteful. I think that the workforce should be out of the politics of it entirely and vote for who you think is the right person that is going to do the right thing for you when you go into cast your vote. But to use them to campaign for you, I just I just don't think that's the right thing to do. And if I get in there, or when I get in there, I'm not going to expect them to do that for me. But if you're
mm.
doing a good job for the community, those people are going to come back and vote for you anyway.
I think so. I
Absolutely.
think so. And I think right now, this isn't like a smear thing on, current leadership. I think Andrea put it beautifully, is that when, sometimes you just got to be out with the old, in with the new. We've got a final push here, everybody. We've got tomorrow, and then we have Tuesday, because there's no early voting on Monday.
Right.
No,
So it's tomorrow and Tuesday are the last, opportunity we're going to have for how long, Joe? Tell them when the next election is.
4 years. It'll
4
be four
years.
years, and
And
then we'll do this again. But hopefully, we get in a position where nobody wants to run because you're doing a good job.
well, I think that, like Andre alluded to that earlier, before it was, we're going to reelect you, you're doing the job, but now it's like, hey, for you, it just happened to hit close to home. But for
Mhm.
a lot of us, it's been hitting home for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a question as in regards to crime, because as the current sheriff is saying that crime is down. And I personally think, I'll throw that out there real quick, is I think that a lot of things aren't being documented. So of course it wouldn't show there wasn't a lot of crime. But personally in my area, I see an incline of violent things happening within the area, and then drugs, and then, fentanyl, and all these things that are happening. And I know that you said you needed to get more, boots on the ground. But what are some of your ideas on how we're gonna, push back against crime as the
Mm,
community grows?
mm. Well, you have to make the criminal element uncomfortable. It's a risk reward analysis on their end too. If I go into Hernando County, um, is it worth the risk? Am I going to do some serious jail time? And the answer is yes, you are. And what I intend to do is number one, beef up that canine unit. Unfortunately, we only have 5, maybe 6 dogs. Pasco County has 54.
My
I'd
cousin
like to bring,
my cousin
I,
is
I,
Carmack.
and, oh yeah, oh really?
Yep. Yeah.
I'd like to bring that up to at least 12 dogs as quickly as we possibly can,
Yes.
because that on vehicle stops, when you have a dog that's close by that has to fit a certain constitutional criteria that the Supreme Court upheld, it affords you the opportunity to realize that there are drugs in the vehicle and effect an arrest. In addition, aviation, of course, is my forte, so I have some plans to incorporate that aviation unit at times where the criminal element is doing their thing, and make it really uncomfortable with results in arrests. And the other thing is, again, the boots on the ground, because we need to have a street crime unit that is dealing with those issues. You never, most of the time, times have changed a bit, but people normally do not commit a crime in front of a uniformed law enforcement officer. They just
Sure,
don't.
right.
Right.
You
So when you have a workable, substantial undercover unit that is out there, they can see things happening before the bad guy sees them.
Right.
And once the criminal element starts to realize that the light came on in Hernando County, that'll start to sway the tide in another direction.
Hmm.
Are we going to stop all the crime? No. But that's the difference between being proactive and being reactive. Because if
hmm
you're just running from one call to another, trying to put fires out, the criminals are not dumb. They're going to exploit that.
Right.
You have 1% motorcycle gangs here openly hanging out and setting up shop for you to see. Um, Me, I'd like to send them a basket of edibles, welcoming them to the county, that we're happy to see you
Yeah.
and we're here for your service.
that's funny.
But,
Hey, speaking of edibles, let's because we've got medical marijuana is legal in the county. We've got
mhm.
vote to legalize it within the county. Um I'm not too familiar with all these dogs, but they can tell the difference between all of these drugs. Are we going to have the dogs maybe not targeting marijuana as much as like, the
Well,
harder
no,
stuff?
well, I'm gonna say that I will probably think that if you are under the influence of marijuana is considered a DUI and is
Yes,
True.
a
yeah,
charge. So
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's still gonna be in the playbooks there.
Right, but I'm
Mhm.
saying like if somebody runs a red light and the dog comes up and smells weed, we're not going to assume that the guy's a,
Well, I think there's a difference
marijuana
Well,
dealer.
it,
between
yeah, there would be,
Keep that
a
card. Make sure
card.
you guys keep your card.
oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
exactly. Whatever legally fits. Look, I'm not interested in making it arrests that are not good. And what do
Right.
I mean by that? I don't want people stretching charges. The Constitution applies to everybody. Let's work within the boundaries of the Constitution. If you're a repeat offender, trust me, you're going to get caught, and you're going to get caught good eventually.
Sure.
Um, but if we don't have enough to affect an arrest, then we're just not going to affect an arrest until we do have enough.
Right.
Right.
Hey, you were talking about that incident with the two officers at nighttime, serving that warrant,
Mm.
and you were like, these guys were unsupervised. Did they make that decision on their own?
Um, I'm not 100% sure if that decision was made on their own, but here's the thing: mitigating risk.
Right.
Were they legal to be there? Absolutely. And I really don't want to Monday morning quarterback
No,
their decisions. But I will tell you this, that when I'm in charge, there will be supervision when we decide that we're going to go execute a warrant. In this particular case, this individual had made threats to die by cop.
right.
Um,
Guy
I
was
don't
nuts.
believe the elements the elements to go get this person at the time really justified it. Maybe we could have got him at Walmart tomorrow. Was the
Maybe go to his
shooting in
house
that
at 10
moment?
o'clock in the morning. Not
Yeah, and now you have a rookie deputy and another young deputy in there, and was the shooting justified at that particular in time? Sure, yeah, it was. But it's the events that led up to it where you need to make better decisions. I could tell you that in the agency that I just left 2 years ago, if we were going to go execute a warrant, we met at a location. There was at the very least a sergeant there, and the sergeant would be on the phone with the lieutenant, and then we would brief entirely and then go execute the mission. Much better way to do it. And if there's too much risk analysis, we're going to get them another time.
Well,
Um,
I have something to add to that. Like just Monday, I had 6 officers outside of my house at my neighbor's house. And I didn't even know what happened. They had the house taped off. And, the office, the sheriff's office reported of a self-harm emergency at a residence on, my street. And there was no update after. So my question is as far as things like that, like notifying the community of things that are happening, everybody was left hanging as far as, is everything okay? Are the neighbors okay? Is the community safe? There was no update in regards to that particular situation or quite a few others that have happened. And
yeah,
it leaves this big question mark with the community.
yeah.
what are
There's the
yeah,
and
so how are you going to approach communication with the community?
well, he does have an app out there. Um, I can tell you that we will not alienate people on Facebook. It's frustrating when something is happening and you don't have information. And of course, there are times where you can't release information.
Of
Sure,
But
course.
if there truly is a danger to the community, the people have a right to know and they need to know. So that goes back to my view on body cameras, the flock system. I will be as transparent with our neighbors as we legally can be. I will not withhold information. I am really not a fan of the frequencies being scrambled now so that you cannot hear. And I
mm,
think we're getting away from transparency and even with the media being able to report what's happening. If you want information, they shouldn't, a law enforcement agency shouldn't now put on their media hat and tell you what they want you to know.
Right.
I
right.
think that defeats the purpose. The purpose of the First Amendment in media is to keep these people in position honest. And if
Well,
we start to let that break, you can have tyranny, honestly.
right.
Are you going to be holding press conferences like Grady Judd?
I would love
Um,
it.
I, I, I don't have a problem getting in front and doing what we're doing now.
Right.
Um, I certainly will be open with you guys, and if it's me doing it, that's fine with me.
Do you? Let me ask you a question because we love Grady Judd. We have one of our other
Hmm.
businesses in Polk County.
Hmm.
I think that the way he approaches law enforcement is like a big deterrent for criminals. Like because I don't even want to speed through Polk County because I'm like I don't
Right.
want to
No,
mess with
Right.
Grady Judd, and
right.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's bad to have that type of like
Yeah.
the way the people view you.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay that we're gonna have a sheriff that wants to hold the agency accountable, his
Yes.
officers accountable, and he's not scared to say, hey, criminals, mess around and find out, you
Right,
know.
right.
And that's probably why Grady doesn't get a lot of pushbacks for not having body cameras,
Right.
because Grady is not ashamed to air out his own dirty laundry when the
Absolutely.
stuff hits the fan.
Yeah, there was
He
that
puts it
incident where
out
there
there.
was officers involved in some shady
Oh yeah.
stuff recently,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and he threw the book at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he puts it out
Ask you
there,
about
and
this
that's it.
in this county, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but when you get in there, you're going to start digging. You're going to start seeing things, and we all know there's the good old boys club and all of that. And um, any resident, you can get mad at me for saying it, y'all. We know it's there. We know it's happening. Um, we saw it with your son. We saw it with multiple other issues. Are you prepared to go in there and clean house if you have to? For all of,
Absolutely.
we'll use a Donald Trump saying, are you ready to go drain the swamp?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I on day one, I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I'm going
Absolutely.
to lay out what we expect of them and what we should be doing. And I will support them 100%, even if it costs me the next election. If they are right and they are justified in their actions, I will not turn my back on those people. I will not do that. But if you step on your own toe, that's on you. And as the leader of that institution, you have an obligation to do the right thing for the public. I would ask them, please don't put me in that position.
Mm,
Come to work, do the right thing. Um, this is how we're going to operate. This is what we expect. I think it's all in your hearts to protect the community that you live in. And let's do that together with a partnership with the people that live here, because without the agency getting information and trust, um, it's not going to work.
that's very important. That's really important. Andre, you got any other serious questions you want to ask Joe?
Well, I was gonna ask about is it called Mercy's Law? Marcy's Law? What is
Marcy's law, yeah.
now
It's changed though.
has there been some changes to that law to where
Yes.
you can disclose some things?
What does that mean? I have no clue. Explain
So
it.
Marcy's law was put in place basically to ensure that victims of crimes uh, were not victimized again in the same fashion or other ways. Um, Florida Statute 119 is very lengthy on what information can be released. Um, I intend to be operating fully in accordance with 119. You will not see a completely redacted email from top to bottom with just my name on it. Whatever in between can be legally released, we will legally release it. Um, but it goes back to being transparent. Perception is reality. And I think that is deeply set in now, and some of it is reality. There's a lot of things that they just don't release, and they're not comfortable releasing. Funny Biz situation was one of them. That's a stain on our community. My wife and I live out in horse country here, and uh, we went for a walk the other morning, and a horse is hanging her head over the fence, just looking at us, and it breaks your heart, and what
Right.
happened there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the mutilation place in the
Yeah.
animal shelter. Now,
Yeah.
me, the biggest impropriety was um there was an issue
Ariana.
there was the issue with Ariana where she was you know essentially her boyfriend murdered her
Mhm.
and admitted to it, to the parents, to everybody, and admitted that he did it. I watched the video and it's like the guy said, "You know what I did? You know
Yeah,
what I
in
did?"
short terms. Ugh,
And it's
very
like
questionable.
when stuff like that happens under your watch, Joe, are we going to get how I don't want to say, we're not, like you said, we're not going to Monday morning quarterback how shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but
Right.
going forward, when there's so much improprieties like that, I feel as the sheriff, if you don't come clean up, with what's going on, or you don't investigate things properly, like you said, we got to vote it out. Are you going to make sure that these officers are, maybe there needs to be retraining or just enforcement of what they already know? How do we know something like this isn't going to happen under your watch?
Yeah. Well, you can work hard to prevent those things from happening. Occasionally, will stuff like that happen? Possibly, but very methodically, very slowly, you go through this crime and you make sure that everything legally is in place. I don't know what happened there, but I can promise you this, that is going to be the first thing that we do when we get in there, is
Yes.
open that case up and look at it. I don't have any information as to why that
Sure,
case went
Right.
south.
yeah, you got to get in there.
But we have spoken to the parents. We are absolutely going to look at it. My cousin from childhood was a victim of an unsolved homicide today. So I can't say that I know what the parents feel,
Right.
but I know it's got to be very painful. And we're going to take a hard look at that and see where it went south, and if we can legally pursue it, because the Constitution applies to everybody, guys.
Right. Absolutely.
This is very unfortunate. Makes me sick, but I'd have to really lay my eyes on what transpired there. But
Sure.
training is imperative. Training is imperative. There are a lot of things you got to look at. It was Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. Who's on duty? Are they tired? Are they fatigued? It just a lot of things. A
Are they
lot of
trying to
things
just get
that
home
could go
to
south.
get Christmas?
Right.
Yeah, I'd
I
like to
do
think not.
I
Right.
do have one more question,
Okay.
and it's in regard to the animal shelter because the sheriff's
Uh-huh.
department oversees those things. Um, a lot of people in the community are having a lot of questions in regards to how the animal shelter is going to be handled. If you were to become sheriff, right now they have like an overpopulation of animals. There's a lot of repairs. I was actually a volunteer at one time helping out with the shelter, and I do see, there's some things that should have been addressed,
Mhm.
um, as repairs and expansion and things like that. What is something that you think you could come,
Offer the
going
community.
forward
Yeah.
with
Offer
the
your
whole
thoughts to the
animal?
community.
Well, look, the only function that the sheriff's office currently has with the animal shelter is the transportation of the animal to the facility.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The county runs that facility. Um, I will say that I am encouraged by the very vocal animal supporters in the county. Sometimes one of the two of them try to roll me under the bus. I'm really not sure why. But putting that aside, I would be willing to be an advocate or a leadership role to come up with some ideas between the county and the very competent people that live here who have that passion and that drive to
Right.
listen and come up with workable solutions. You know, my wife and I are animal lovers. We've had dogs and cats our, entire marriage, 34 years. And we're passionate about animals. It pains me to see them that way, but it's it's difficult to say that I would look to take over that facility with the knowledge base I have now,
Right.
because those animals deserve a fair shot at life. And
Absolutely.
I am not 100% sure that the sheriff taking over at this time would ensure that end result. I think the sheriff's office has a lot of problems right now that you have to concentrate on law enforcement first. And then once you have that under control, maybe take a look at that and see if we can in fact benefit from that. But I've been doing a little research. There are some institutions around the state, some sheriffs that are sorry they got involved in it.
Right.
So it's a very touchy subject. It's a very emotional subject. But if there's a way for us to do it in the future and do it right, then sure, I would be open to that as
We'll have
well.
to ask Marvin.
Well, I was gonna throw just a little suggestion out there. You know, maybe the sheriff could just be the middleman as far as putting things out together about donations and more community involvement as far as what the shelters need, because I don't see a lot of
Sure, if people knew, they would help.
right. I don't see a lot of things asking, hey, get involved. And the only reason why I'm bringing up the animal shelter now is because I just see an influx of it coming on my news feed that,
Right.
there's a virus going on in there right now. They had to shut it down. They have a lot of overrun animals. 11 of them were euthanized today. So, I think maybe not getting per se involved, but maybe outsourcing people to come and donate and,
Yeah, and those are the
puppy.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and those
Sheriff Joe with the
Adopt a
puppies. Yeah.
dog.
and those are the passionate people that I was talking about earlier that can offer solutions. Look, good ideas come from everybody, really,
Absolutely.
just because you're in a position of leadership doesn't mean you have all the answers. They come from everybody, and a good leader takes that input and makes a decision. Somebody has to be in charge, but I feel good about the passion from the community. As I said, even though some of them throw bobs at me, that's okay. But I actually have a common interest with them as it relates to the animals. So I'm willing to hear what they have to say. But don't forget, we have an exploding homeless problem.
Absolutely. We didn't even touch on
Yeah,
that.
We've been living here for 26 years, and we drive around, my wife and I, and look at it, and I say, I cannot believe what we're laying eyes on. Just yesterday, there's a young lady sitting in a parking lot, and we gave her an umbrella because it was pouring down rain. Just a tough spot, but that's a whole other issue with
right.
these companies buying all these houses and driving the rent up.
We'll talk to
It's
the
that's
commissioners about that one.
Yes, give
So
that one to
bring that
Marvin.
up.
that's tomorrow's. We're trying to get Ryan on too, and
Good.
not saying that there's a coalition here or anything, guys, but the
No.
point of us talking to only the candidates is, first off, the incumbents don't want to talk to
Right. They've
anybody
been asked.
because we've gone to them. I've gone to them personally.
Hmm.
And I know some of them personally, and it's just like, man to man, let's just have a talk about what's
Hmm.
going on here, and
Right.
not even that's happening.
Silence.
Yeah.
Um, we're at a precipice here in our county, guys. We've got the old guard that wants to change this area into the new Tampa Mecca, pretty
Hmm.
much. The sheriff wants us to have this $400 million state of the art RoboCop facility, whatever he's got going on, a development in the county, all of this stuff going on. And what is all of that development causing? Crime to rise. Why are we here today? We're here to tell everybody, get out and vote.
Yes.
Get to voting tomorrow. Get to voting on Tuesday. Tell all your friends. I'm going to be giving rides out if we need them. Whatever we need
I'm
to
not.
do.
I'm gonna be making sure you put your vote in.
She's going to be working the ballot box, and
Hmm.
that's what we got to do, guys. We got to get involved. Joe, you've been getting out to the community. You've been talking to people. You've been fielding hard questions, but I think I've got the toughest question out of anybody, and I'm going to ask you here, and it's going to really put you on the spot.
Go ahead.
Giants or Jets?
Well, I'm going to go with my father-in-law. He loved the Jets.
You
So
might just win the election with that vote because Hernando County
don't
is
forget, I grew up in
full
Queens.
Jets fans and
Grew up
Giants.
in Queens when they played at Shea Stadium.
Wow.
Nice.
So we won't ask Yankees or Mets because we don't care about them. But listen, is we're gonna let you end by making a statement to the people of the community. Like I said, we're gonna be posting this on our Spotify, on our YouTube,
Mhm.
Twitter, Amazon. We're even gonna put it on iHeart. I mean, anywhere you can
Okay.
listen to this thing, it's gonna be on there.
Yeah.
So, Joe,
Yeah,
the
look,
floor is yours before
I
we wrap up.
I got into the race late. That was a decision to navigate a political landmine. This was not an easy decision for my wife and I to make. We've been taking a lot of hits. We voted for him every time. It's not easy, but I can tell you this: with me, you'll have transparency. We will do the right thing. I will encourage our deputies to do the right thing, and I will do the right thing for them. I look forward to working with the community. You have basically 2 days left to get out and vote. So please get out and vote, and let's turn this ship around.
Guys,
Yes.
let's turn this ship around. We're gonna call this the last push episode. Out with the old, in with the new.
Yes.
Joe, thank you so much for giving us your time, joining
Yes,
us.
absolutely.
You're
And
very welcome.
when you become sheriff, we're gonna throw the heck of a party for you. I can't wait to be
Okay,
there.
Yes, I'm
very
excited.
good.
All
Good to
Very
right.
meet
good.
you,
Well,
Joe.
thanks. Nice to meet you, and thanks for having me.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
You too. Take
Bye.
care. Enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.